Hello, this is Dr. Jeff Kim, and I'm very excited about where I'm headed out today to Washington, D.C. I think the first day, Thursday, we'll have a chance to meet with some of our congressional leaders who are supportive of Korean Americans and the voice of Korean Americans, as CKA is the voice of Korean Americans, one of the major voices of Korean Americans.
And so we asked, where are we going? What are we doing there? Well, we're headed to the Hill, Capitol Hill this evening, and we'll be going to the famous Cannon Caucus Room. And it's currently, it was renamed a few years ago and renovated, now called the Nancy Pelosi Caucus Room in the Cannon building. It's a beautiful room to see, and we'll be arriving there in about 20 minutes or so. Tonight, we're kicking it off with this beautiful reception here in the Cannon Caucus Room at the U.S. Capitol with our congressional leaders from different parts of the country who will be coming to welcome our community here on Capitol Hill. And this is the House of Representatives, or better known as the House of the People. And this room is very historic because it's actually called the Nancy Pelosi Caucus Room as well. As you can see, the ornate and beautiful architecture here. But this is where laws are made, and this is where people come together to create a foundation for a country, for a nation. And it's important that Korean Americans are part of that conversation, and that's why we're here to meet with our leaders, to demonstrate that we're here, we care, we're civically engaged, we support our leaders, and we want them to also listen to the Korean American community.
Today we hear from 6 members of Congress who we will be hearing and meeting with. And to kick us off, we have our wonderful executive director, Abraham Penn, who is a good friend to all of you. I know.
It's really an exciting time and opportunity for us, and I think this year in particular. As many of you know, this year it marks the 120th anniversary of Korean immigration here in the United States, and as well as the 70th anniversary of our U.S. and Korea.
Thank you. Welcome to the start of the 2023 edition gala. With today's congressional reception, we're kicking off our 2.5 days of sponsored by Council of Korean
I represent the 39th Congressional District, which includes the city of Riverside, which was also the city where the Korean patriot, Dosan that there was a very special man who was revered, and he happened to be a Korean American, Colonel Kim. And I just think it's an amazing story about two immigrant groups who come from nations who are at odds, and one group, just cruelly treated by the other. But in America, they were on equal footing. They both faced discrimination and challenges. But at a time when the nation needed them, they worked together.
I understand. As a Mexican American growing up in a farm worker community, my first home was a trailer park, and my dream was to be a doctor as an immigrant to take care of the community that gave me so much, the culture of love and respect and family, tying into land and place, and the values of taking care of one another no matter the cost, to ensure that as we progress, we bring everybody along with us, our relatives, our second cousins, our third cousins. We've had a large family, so all of us to just lock arms and progress in our country as we want to create the dreams that our grandparents offered to us and sacrificed so much.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Good evening.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming on out. I just have such a spot in my heart for CKA. As mentioned, it's where I got my start. I got to meet a lot of you. Was at the gala a couple years ago. But look, we're talking about making history. We're talking about all the different things that are intersecting this year. 120 years since we had Korean Americans, the first Koreans coming to this country. 70 years since the armistice that brought the end of the Korean War. And then for my family personally, this year is 50 years since my parents immigrated from the South Korea to the United States. And I think about that because 50 years ago, they took this journey, and they didn't know a single other person in the entire Western Hemisphere of Earth. Yet they took that journey, and it's something that I asked them about. I said, why did you do it? You know, why did you put yourself through that level of challenge? You know, think of the bravery, the grit that my parents had, that your parents or yourselves had as you. In my own district, I represent a district that is 85% white, less than 3% Asian, less than 1% Korean. That people said, no way that a Korean American can represent this district. I remember my very first race. I went to a Korean American church in South Jersey, not in my district, but the very few Korean Americans that are in my district often go there. And I met this woman, this older woman, this Ajima who was there, and she's just like, I'm so excited. You're on TV. You could be my I live in your district. You could be my congressman. And I was like, oh, well, that's great. I'm glad you're so excited. Don't forget to vote on Tuesday. She's like, oh, I'm not registered. I'm not registered. She's like, I'm not political. And I just had to say, you know, I broke my heart. I was just like, look, like, if the chance to elect the only Korean American in Congress was not enough to be able to motivate her to register, then like, what could, right? But as she talked about it, she's like, you know, like, I'm not into that. Like, she talked about it like it's like a sporting event between two teams. And I can see that based off of what we see on the news. But you know, sometimes you have those conversations where you wish you could have a do-over. I wish I could have a do-over here. I wish I could go back there and say, you know what? That healthcare, that Medicare that you're on, that's government. That's politics. The immigration policy that allowed Korean Americans to immigrate here in large numbers after the war, that was done right here in this building, in the Capitol. My father got a scholarship to come and study here. That was federal government money that was allocated to be able to give opportunities to Koreans to come and study. It has touched every aspect of our life. So as we think about what comes next, we think about how we stay engaged. Let's think about that effort. Many of you know I stepped up a couple years ago, and I'm stepping up again for an even bigger adventure. But I can't do it alone. All of us need to think about how we can get engaged. And I hope to be able to continue to work with you, hopefully for years to come, to be able to get that done. Thank you, everyone.
They can erase your story, they can erase your contributions, and then they can marginalize you. So this museum will be a place for the entire community to gather from all walks of life. If you're Korean or not, that's what makes LA beautiful. I've seen situations where when I'm talking to a Latino kid, he knows Korean. Then a little Korean kid of Korean descent knows Spanish, and that's the way it should be. It's something that makes our country better, our community stronger, and makes sure that everybody thrives. Because in this place, if you believe in this country and the ideals, you have
Just of honor today, Sonny Clark, who lives in my constituency, and who is the perfect example of the American.
Got some amazing people in this room. Yes, we have elected officials. Yes, we have members of Congress, and hopefully a senator there as well. But honestly, it's people who care and are proud of their Korean heritage. You can see it, some of us are in Korean dress, kiddo hanboks, right? And more modern, but still sharing and showcasing our roots and being proud of it.